What's up, everyone? Welcome back and thanks for checking out today's video. If you're new to the channel, my name is Dan and this is my 2019 Jeep Wrangler Rubicon. On today's video, we're going to be showing you guys a new product from XK Glow Lighting. And if you've been following along my channel and following along on my build, you would actually know that I already have two XK Glow products on my Jeep. The first one I have is the RGB fender vent light. Then I have the universal side step lights that are mounted above my Mopar Performance rock rails. If you're unfamiliar about either of those products, I highly recommend that you go to my channel, check out the videos that I've posted so that you can see how to install those products, you can see how those products work, and you can get my overall thoughts and opinions of the products once I finish the installation and tested them out. So the product that we're going to be installing today is actually going to pair very well with the universal side step lights. If you're unfamiliar about what the side step lights are, they are basically two thin LED light bars that get attached just above your steps. And what they do is they offer four unique lighting solutions for the side of your vehicle. The first one is a courtesy light, which is basically where when you open up the door, the light bar will illuminate a white light to illuminate the step to make it easier to get in and out of the vehicle. Then once you close the door, that light will turn off. The next one is the amber turn signal, which is pretty straightforward. When you engage your turn signals, the light bar will flash amber to match the turn signals. The next one is an amber running light, which is basically a consistent amber light illuminating above the step. So when you turn your headlights on, that will be on all the time. And then the last one is the hazard strobe light effect, which is basically where when you engage your hazards, the light bar will actually flash white and yellow in a strobe light pattern instead of just the regular amber turn signal flashing. What makes this a universal kit is the fact that you don't require any special plugs, connections, switches, or triggers to complete the installation. All you have to do is simply take the lights with its wires and then tap it into the vehicle's wiring harness. This is great because this means that you can simply just purchase the product and install it in any vehicle without any additional parts. But if you're installing all four features and connecting them all up, it means that they're permanently engaged. So if you turn on your headlights, that amber running light will turn on. If you press your hazards, they will always be in the strobe light effect and not in the amber. And that was something I didn't like about those lights, was the fact that there was no switches to choose when I wanted to engage or disengage those features. So at the end of the video for the universal side steps, I actually mentioned the fact that I did not wire up the amber running light, nor did I wire up the hazard strobe light effect. And that was mainly due to the fact that I had no way to disengage them when I didn't want them to be active. I mentioned in the video that maybe in the future, if I buy a switch panel or triggers, I'll wire them up so that I can be able to turn them off. But for the time being, I just left them disconnected. So when I posted that video, XK Glow saw the video and then ended up contacting me to discuss it a little bit further. They are asking me, why didn't you wire them up? Do you like them? I said, yeah, of course I like them. They're really cool, but I just don't want them to be engaged all the time. And I told them that eventually I plan to buy a switch panel for the Jeep because I do want to add some additional lights on the front. But at this point, I don't have one and I don't know which one I'm going to buy. And they actually said to me, well, we actually have a new one coming out and we'd love to send it to you so that you can create an installation video, wire them up to your steps to engage all the features and test the product out for us. And I said, why not? So the product that XK Glow ended up sending me is the X Command 8-channel Bluetooth switch panel. This has two main components to it. First is the control hub that is designed to go in the engine bay, which is where you will wire all your lights directly to. Then you have the switch panel, which gets mounted on the interior of the Jeep and is used to trigger the lights. XK Glow also offers some vehicle-specific mounting brackets for both the control hub and the switch panel. For myself, I ended up using the mounting bracket for the control hub, but for the switch panel, I ended up doing something custom. This item has a lot of built-in features, and of course, throughout this video, we will show you what it can do. But one of the things I wanted to highlight that makes this very unique is the fact that this item actually has its own Bluetooth phone app. What that gives us is the ability to actually customize each switch We also can customize the way the switch panel operates, and we can actually trigger the switches through the phone. So I've actually already installed this on the Jeep and I've been testing it out for the last week. The reason I did it this way is because I wanted to get some experience with the product before I created this video and gave you guys my overall thoughts and opinions. I also wanted to do it this way because this is an electrical installation, which for me is usually a troubleshooting process. I find that when you're doing installations like this, you're figuring out how to run wires to certain locations, how to get them through the firewall. And overall, that type of installation is not that much fun to film, nor that much fun to watch. But what I did film, because I know I wanted to show it, was the installation of the two main components, the control hub and the switch panel. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go take a look at how I installed the control hub, and then we'll take a look and discuss some of its features. As you can see, the installation for this was pretty straightforward. All you had to do was secure the hub to the bracket using the provided hardware, then secure the bracket to the vehicle. What I was surprised about is the bracket did not come with any provided hardware. This was hardware that I had laying around and I was able to use. There is a stock bolt that is connected here, just like this one here. But for myself, I didn't want to use a different bolt here and a different one here, so I ended up just replacing both of them. The unit itself is really nice looking. The cover comes off pretty easily. And once you do that, you can see the connections are really straightforward. All you have to do is connect the ground using the provided cord, then connect the power using the provided cord with a fuse on it, connect the switch panel with this wire, and then you have your 8 channels right here that you can easily connect any of the lights to. So while I was wiring this up, I discovered that the control hub is actually a negative trigger. I'm not sure if all switch panels are designed this way, but what it means is that the power or the positive is a consistently live line, where the ground or the negative is the source that turns on and off to trigger the light. This is not going to be a big deal if you're installing regular lights. All you have to do is run that ground wire and that positive wire straight to the box, and then you'll be able to turn them on and off. But for the universal side step lights, this was a little bit more complicated. The universal side step lights actually have 1 ground and 5 power wires that are used to trigger the different features. So what I found is once I wired those up to here, what ended up happening is all of the features were on. So the lights were stuck on, there was no way to turn them off. So what I had to do is figure out a way to trick the system so that I can have the power turned off and then it would be triggered by the switch turning on the ground. What I ended up using was some waterproof relays right here. And what I did was I put the relay in between the power line so that the switch inside the relay was in the off position and not connecting it. And then ran the ground wire of the relay into the switch box so that when you trigger the switch, it will trigger the ground, which will turn the switch in the relay and connect the power, and made it work. I'm not going to go into detail. I had to do a couple different things with each switch for different features. If anybody is looking to do something like this and is installing this and they need assistance, feel free to contact me and I can go through more details. But realistically, it was a lot of troubleshooting, watching some YouTube videos to really just figure out how to make it work. Again, if you're using regular lights, you're not going to have to use any relays. You just simply plug the ground and the power into it and you'll be good to go. Overall, this is a really good box design. It's built really well, simple to install. The cover goes on nice and easily and keeps everything looking nice and clean. What we're going to do now is go take a look at the switch panel, and then I'll show you guys how we did the installation for that. For the switch panel, I actually ended up overhead mounting mine just above the mirror. This is not XK-Glow's mounting solution. This is something custom that I have created, and it's what I'm going to show you how to do today. XK-Glow does have a mounting bracket that you can purchase with this unit. And basically what it is it's a simple multi-panel bracket that is designed to go over this location on the dash. And then using the bracket that comes with the switch panel, you simply bolt everything up into place right here. Definitely will work and an easy solution, but for myself, I just didn't like the way it would possibly block some visibility out my windshield, and it just looked like a bit of an afterthought. So for myself, I wanted to figure out some solution that I could overhead mount it and make it look well integrated with the Jeep. What I ended up using is the Tigger 4 Plus remote bracket. What this is basically a custom molded plastic piece that is designed to fit and attach to the overhead panel of the Jeep JL or JT. It is designed to relocate the airbag switch panel right here and then provide an additional place to mount the Trigger wireless remote bracket. What I've done here is I've actually customized it to work with a wired switch panel. What I had to do was simply take the front faceplate off, remove the metal panel that is attached to it, drill a hole through the center of the faceplate, run the wires through. Then from the inside out, I connected the switch panel to that front faceplate, then attached the faceplate back to the base. Overall, this turned out really well. All you had to do to install it was simply attach it on the back there and then slide it over the curve here. There's no screws or glues required to hold it in place. And so it really is just a really good looking bracket. The one thing I did have to do was a slight customization right here because this is only designed for the regular hardtop and I have the skytop. So what I had to do was take a Dremel, slightly trim this to accommodate for the button, and then it fit just perfectly. If you are having to do that, I highly recommend that you take your time. Do not take too much material. Just do small bits, test fit, small bit more, test fit until you get it right. The last step that I just showed in that installation was where I was applying the stickers to the switch panel. X-Glow actually provides 2 full sheets of stickers for the switches, and there are a lot of variety in here, different lights, different fans, stereos, horns, lots of different options and different symbols. You'll most likely find what you need. If you don't, you can actually use these white ones right here and make custom stickers for the switches. One of the unique things about this switch panel is that even though it has 8 switches, the 8 switches are not directly connected to each of the channels. With the app, you actually have the ability to assign different channels to each switch or assign multiple channels to one switch. So what that means is that if I am programming switch number 1, I can program it to turn on channel 8. Or if I wanted to, I could also program it to turn on all of the channels by clicking 1 through 8 in the app. It's a really unique feature, and it gives you a lot of flexibility with the switches to engage different things. So what I've done today is I've actually wired up the bottom 4 buttons to my universal sidestep lights. The universal sidestep lights are always wired and active, but what I want to do is create a switch that would turn it off. So what I did on the first button is I wired it up so that when I press the button down, it turns off the entire system, meaning none of the other buttons will work, nor will the courtesy light work or the turn signals work while this is engaged. If I disengage it, it will activate everything and everything will work just fine. The next button I made was the amber running light. So when I press this button, it turns on the amber lights on the sides and they'll stay on until I turn them off. And then because I was using relays, I figured out a way to create a white running light. And what that gives me the ability to do is when I'm riding down a dark trail road, I have the ability to trigger this button and it will illuminate the side of the vehicle with a white light. Very unique feature, and glad I was able to figure out how to do that. The last button that I've created is the strobe light button. This one's a little different than the other ones because if I press this, it will actually do nothing. So what I actually have to do is turn on the hazards first, then go back up to the button and press it. And now it will engage the strobe light features for the side steps. And then of course, for the top, I actually don't have any of these wired. This is more of a teaser of what's to come and what I will be adding to my Jeep. As you can see with this switch panel, I've definitely maximized my functionality of the universal side steps. I now have the ability to turn on and off different light features for different situations using this switch panel. This switch panel overall is a really well constructed product. The buttons themselves have a nice tactile feel. The buttons are RGB backlit, which gives you the ability to change the color of the light while it's running and then change the light color when you engage each button. And I'll make sure to show you guys that in the app. The stickers that are used on the switch are are good, but they do allow a little bit of light to come through the sides. And I want to stress the fact that when you're applying the stickers, please take your time, because if you miss, like I did, you'll see that when you go to try and adjust them, this sticker just never goes down the same way and gets a little marked up. Small thing, not a big deal. Just take your time when you're installing it. The control unit itself seems to be really well built and high quality. It has a nice custom molded logo. The trim of it is actually kind of a soft touch feel. So if you are touching it, it has a nice textile touch to it. One thing to mention is it does also have this Bluetooth symbol right here. Right now, it's hard to see in this light, but it is red, and that indicates that my phone is not connected to it. But when it turns blue, it indicates that you are connected to it and you can control everything through the app on your phone. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go take a look at the app on the phone to show you guys what you can do with that app to customize this switch panel even further. When you open up the app, the first thing it will do is connect to the switch panel. You can also go to the top right corner and see the app's connection. This is where you will also pair and unpair the device. Once the app is connected, it will take you to the main page, which is the control page. On this page, you'll see all 8 switches, and on this page is where you can engage and disengage different switches using your phone. You can engage multiple switches at the same time, and using the button in the middle, you actually have the ability to turn off all switches at the same time.
The next page that we can go to is the customization page. On this page, you'll see all the customization options available. The first section we can enter is for button customization. In this area, you'll see all 8 buttons. If you click on an individual button, it'll take you to the customization for that button. The first option that we can customize is the button icon. This is the image that is displayed in the phone app. It is not the image that is displayed on the switch panel. That is the sticker that we already applied. To do this, we actually have 4 different options to choose from. First is to choose from a list of preset icons. And as you can see, there are a lot of preset icons loaded into the system, and you'll most likely find the icon you need. If you don't find the icon you need, then you actually can use the second option, which is where you can upload your own image to be used in an icon. If you don't want to use an icon, then you also have the ability to just use text. And from here, you can actually customize the text to whatever you want it to say. And if you don't want to use text or an icon, the last option is to just select NA and it will display nothing. The next option to customize for the button is the channels. As I previously mentioned, each switch is not connected to a certain channel. You actually have the ability to assign each button a certain channel or assign multiple channels to a certain button. Once you've decided which channels to assign to this button, you have the ability to decide if you want to make this a monetary switch, which basically means that when you press the button, the light source will turn on, and then when you release the button, it will turn off. This is just a unique feature that you have the ability to choose if you want to use it or not. The next option we have is to decide what happens when you engage the trigger. First thing you can do is decide if all channels are doing the same action, or decide if different channels are doing different actions. There are a bunch of different actions to choose from at the bottom. What I've chosen a lot is full on, but you also have the ability to choose triple burst options, single flash options, and as well control the amount of power that is going through each channel. So that customization can be applied to all 8 of the buttons. So the next thing we can customize is the sensor wires, and what we can do is basically customize what happens when each of those sensor wires is triggered. As you can see, the customization of these wires is very similar to the button customization. The first thing you can do is change the name. For myself, I'm going to change this to high beamed on because I've tapped this wire into my high beams. The next thing you have to choose from is the sensor function. There are 2 options. First is the dim button backlight at night, and then the other option is trigger output action. So because I've wired these up to my headlights, what I want to do is select it on trigger output action so that when the headlights turn on, it will turn on different channels. So the next part leads to linking which channels I wanted to choose. And then similar to the button customization, you have the ability to choose what action happens when the light source is turned on. The only other sensor wire that I have wired up is sensor wire number 3. And I actually have this wired up to my headlights, and I'm using the dim button backlight at night feature, which basically gives me the ability so that at night when my headlights turn on, the backlighting on the switch panel will actually dim. When I was setting this up, I actually noticed a small issue. Originally, when I clicked the dim button backlight, I actually had 3 of the channels selected. So when my headlights turned on, I actually had an issue where those channels were actually engaging and I couldn't figure out why. What I found out was that even though you're pressing the dim button backlight at night button, you still need to make sure that no channels are selected, or it will trigger those channels as if it were a trigger output action. This is a small glitch to the system, and I'm sure xKilo will figure out how to fix this, but the workaround for this was basically to make sure that no channels are selected, and you won't have an issue of having certain channels turn on when your headlights turn on. Once you've selected the dim button backlight at night, the next option you can do is actually choose the brightness level. The next section that we can customize is the output channels. In here, you'll see all 8 channels. And here, what we can do is customize the naming of each channel for organization and change the max output current for each channel. This is something you want to do if you don't want the load or the power of that channel to go over a certain amount. If it does go over amount, basically it's a safety feature that will turn off that channel. The next area of customization that we have is for the system. This is everything to do with the switch panel and not to do with the buttons or the channels. In this section, we can change the name of the controller. We can change the auto cutoff input voltage. So basically, if we lower it down, if the system senses less than the voltage displayed, it will turn off and conserve battery power. The next thing we can decide to turn on or off is the Bluetooth auto off. This is basically where you can set a certain time that if the system is not being used, it will automatically turn off, and then it will only engage when you press either the switch or the ignition is turned on. Next thing is the temperature units. You can change it to Celsius or Fahrenheit. So the next thing that we can customize is the color of the backlighting for the buttons when they're in the on position, the off position, and the warning position. With this, you can choose any color and any brightness you want. And the last option we have is to factory reset the unit. The next three options on this page are not really customizable items. The first is the firmware, which basically shows if your firmware is up to date or if it needs to be updated. Next is a video guide section, which I didn't find any video guides in there. Then we have a feedback section, which is where you can submit your feedback to XK Glow using the app. And then the last page is the circle page, which is basically XK Glow's social media area. This is where you can visit their store or see their latest social media posts.
As you can see, that app has a lot of features built into it and offers a wide variety of customization and programmability. Overall, I don't have a lot of experience with these type of switch panels, but based on my industrial design product development experience, I feel that this product definitely is a good product. I think that the installation was very straightforward. The product itself is built to last, and the features and functions that it offers make it just a very valuable product. And speaking of value, it is actually not priced that bad. It is only $369.99, and when you compare that to other brands, it's fairly cheap because some of the other brands are offering things for a lot more than that, and they don't have the same amount of features. If you're looking for more information on the XK Command 8-channel Bluetooth switch panel or the universal side step lights, I will post both the links below that will take you to the XK Glow website, where you'll be able to read all about the details and functionality of both those items. If you're interested in purchasing either of those items or any of the XK Glow products on their website, you can use the code EvolvedJeepin10 to save yourself 10% on your order. At this point, guys, I am going to wrap this video up. But before I do that, I do want to thank XK Glow for sending me this switch panel, as it's definitely given me the ability to maximize the features of the universal side step lights. And it's going to give me the ability to add some additional lighting to the front of my Jeep in future videos. If you have any questions or comments about anything I've done in this video, feel free to post them below and I'll do the best to answer them. As usual, please make sure to like, subscribe, and share. And guys, please make sure to keep evolving, and we'll see you guys on the next video.